All right, so welcome back to the deep dive, and this time we're going to break down Super Bowl LIX.
A rematch
A rematch, right?
of Super Bowl LIX.
Yes, indeed. The Kansas City Chiefs going up against the Philadelphia Eagles again, and we're going to be using this analysis from FX Sports to see what we can uncover.
Right.
Kind of like getting a sneak peek at the playbook, but, way more fun. The Eagles seem to have a little bit of an edge on paper.
Yeah, they do.
But the Chiefs have a certain someone under center.
Oh, yeah. That Mahomes factor, you can't, count that out. He statistically maybe had his quote-unquote worst year in 2024, but
Right.
Let's be real, it's still Patrick Mahomes.
Exactly.
This is his 5th Super Bowl in 7 years as a starter.
Wow.
He's going for a 3rd straight Lombardi trophy. That kind of experience on that stage is invaluable.
Yeah, and it's not just showing up, it's how he performs under pressure. Like,
Yes.
those game-winning drives,
Unbelievable.
the no-look passes. It's almost like the bigger the game,
Yeah.
the better he plays, right? He thrives in those high-pressure moments.
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts has had a phenomenal season, absolutely.
Yeah.
But Mahomes in the Super Bowl, it's a different beast altogether.
It's like comparing a seasoned mountain climber to someone who just started rock climbing.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so advantage Chiefs at quarterback, but Hurts definitely has the potential to surprise us.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about running backs. This one almost feels unfair to even compare.
Well, you're talking about Saquon Barkley, right? The guy rushed for 2,000 yards this season. That's only happened 9 times in NFL history.
Wow.
And he was so dominant, they felt comfortable sitting him out in Week 18 to rest him up for the playoffs. And he could have potentially broken the single-season rushing record if he'd played.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, it's wild. It's like he was playing a different game entirely. Like, what I find fascinating is how he did it.
Yeah.
It wasn't just brute force. Like, the guy is so incredibly elusive, he can make defenders miss in the open field, and he's got that extra gear to break away for big gains. I mean, the Eagles' offensive line deserves some credit. But Barkley's talent is undeniable.
You're right. His vision and agility make him so difficult to tackle. He averaged an incredible 6.1 yards per carry this season.
Jeez.
To put that in perspective, that's like gaining a first down every 2 carries.
Yeah.
It's no wonder he's been averaging a ridiculous 147.3 rushing yards per game in the playoffs.
Yeah. The Eagles' offense is basically give the ball to Wide Barkley and get out of the way. It's working for them, so why change it? Okay. Advantage Eagles at running back. Moving on to wide receivers. This is where things get really interesting because we've got star power on both sides.
Yeah, you've got Worthy Hopkins and Hollywood Brown on the Chiefs side.
Yep.
And the Eagles counter with A.J. Brown, Smith, and Dotson.
Yeah.
These are all receivers who can take the top off of defense.
Right. We could see some serious fireworks in the passing game. But something I'm curious about is like the Eagles' overall passing attack. They weren't quite as explosive as some might have predicted, but could that be because they were leaning so heavily on Barkley's running game?
That's a great point. Why risk throwing the ball when you can hand it off to a guy who's consistently gaining huge chunks of yardage?
Right.
It's almost like their passing game was a luxury they didn't always need to utilize.
Right.
But make no mistake, A.J. Brown and Smith are still one of the best wide receiver duos in the league.
Totally. It's a tough call, but I think the depth and the star power of that Brown-Smith duo give the Eagles the slight edge here. But let's not forget, the Chiefs have their own weapons, and Mahomes can make any receiver look good with his ability to extend plays and throw on the run.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This Super Bowl could come down to which quarterback can make those clutch throws when it matters most.
Yep.
Speaking of clutch, let's talk tight ends.
Right.
We've got a battle of the ages here.
Yeah.
Kelce versus Goddard.
It's the wily veteran Kelce, who at 35 is still one of the best in the game, going up against the younger rising star Goddard.
Right.
So you've got Kelce, a future Hall of Famer who seems to defy father time, and Goddard, who's coming into his own as a premier tight end.
Looking at their stats from the 2024 season, Kelce averaged 51.4 receiving yards per game, while Goddard was slightly behind at 49.6. But stats don't tell the whole story.
Exactly. We need to consider the intangibles. Kelce's chemistry with Mahomes is unmatched.
Oh, yeah.
They just have this sixth sense on the field. They just know where each other is going to be. And Kelce has this knack for making those crucial catches in big moments.
Absolutely. He's Mr. Reliable for Mahomes, especially in the playoffs. Remember his incredible catch in the AFC Championship game last year? That's the kind of play that separates Kelce from the rest.
For sure.
He's a safety valve for Mahomes, and his experience in high-pressure situations can't be overstated.
Okay, so even though Goddard is a beast and has a bright future ahead of him, we're giving the edge at tight end to the Chiefs because of Kelce's proven track record and that almost telepathic connection he has with Mahomes. All right, let's shift gears and talk about the big guys up front, the offensive line.
Now, this one's tricky. On paper, the Eagles' offensive line is a force to be reckoned with.
Oh.
They were absolutely dominant in the regular season, opening up huge holes for Barkley and giving Hurts ample time to throw. They're big, they're physical, and they're technically sound.
They're the reason Barkley was able to rush for 2,000 yards.
Exactly.
But, and this is a big but, they've got some injury concerns heading into the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Dickerson's dealing with a knee issue, and Juergens has a back problem.
Right.
And we know how crucial a healthy offensive line is, especially in a game of this magnitude.
You're absolutely right. Those injuries could be a major factor.
Yeah.
The Chiefs' defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo,
Oh, yeah.
is known for his aggressive blitz packages.
Mm-hmm.
And if he senses any weakness in the Eagles' offensive line, he's going to exploit it.
That's what makes this matchup so fascinating.
Right.
The Eagles have the potential to be an unstoppable force on offense.
Right.
But these injuries could be their Achilles heel.
It's like a high-performance race car with a flat tire.
Yeah.
It's still got all the power, but it's not going to perform at its best.
Excellent.
And on the other side, you have the Chiefs, whose offensive line has been incredibly solid all year, giving Mahomes the time he needs to operate.
Mm-hmm.
He had a remarkably low pressure rate of 29.9% during the regular season.
Wow.
Which speaks volumes about their ability to protect their quarterback.
Right. They may not have the same star power as the Eagles' O-line.
Right.
But they're consistent, they're disciplined, and they get the job done.
Exactly.
So considering the injury concerns for the Eagles, we're giving the edge at offensive line to the Chiefs, but with a huge caveat.
I agree. If the Eagles' offensive line is fully healthy, they're probably the better unit.
Yeah.
But with those injuries looming, it's a risky proposition.
Okay, so that wraps up the offensive side of the ball. Let's take a deep dive into the defenses, starting with the defensive line and outside linebackers.
Mm-hmm.
This is where the Eagles really shine, right?
They've been an absolute nightmare for opposing offenses all season long.
Yep.
Their defensive line is relentless, generating constant pressure and disrupting plays in the backfield. And their outside linebackers are incredibly athletic, able to rush the passer and drop back into coverage.
They're a complete unit. They can shut down the run, get after the quarterback, and create turnovers. They led the league in sacks and were top 5 in run defense.
Yeah.
But the Chiefs' defensive line and outside linebackers aren't slouches either.
No.
They may not have the same gaudy stats as the Eagles,
Right.
but they're still a formidable group.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They're more opportunistic than dominant.
Okay.
They may not rack up sacks at the same rate as the Eagles,
Yeah.
but they're incredibly disruptive and excel at getting their hands on the ball. They forced a ton of fumbles and interceptions this season.
So we're looking at two different styles of defense here.
Yeah.
The Eagles are more of a suffocating in-your-face unit,
Right.
while the Chiefs are more about creating chaos and forcing turnovers.
Exactly. And both styles could be incredibly effective.
Yeah.
We'll see which one prevails on Super Bowl Sunday.
For sure.
All right, that was good stuff. I think we needed to take a little break, though, and we'll be back with you in a moment.
So which style is going to kind of reign supreme in the Super Bowl?
Right.
Is it going to be the Eagles' relentless pressure or the Chiefs' opportunistic, playmaking?
That's the question, isn't it? And to answer that, we really need to look beyond just the defensive lines and consider the entire defensive units.
Okay, so let's dive into the inside linebackers.
Right.
Now, this is where the Eagles suffered a pretty big blow with Nakobe Dean's injury,
Yeah.
like in the wild card round.
Uh-huh.
He was having a fantastic season, but now they're going to have to rely on other players to step up.
And step up, they have Zach Bowen has been phenomenal in Dean's absence.
Yeah.
I mean, his regular season stats were already impressive. 151 tackles, 5 forced fumbles, 4 pass breakups, and 3.5 sacks. But he's been even better in the playoffs.
Wow, those are some serious numbers. He's a tackling machine and a real playmaker.
Yeah.
I have to admit, I didn't know much about him before the playoffs, but he's definitely made a name for himself.
He's been a revelation for the Eagles. He's got a great nose for the ball, and he's incredibly instinctive. He's always around the ball making plays. And, it's not just about individual stats. The entire Eagles defense has stepped up in the playoffs.
Yeah.
They've only allowed 105.6 rushing yards per game in their 3 playoff games.
That's incredible. They're just shutting down opposing running games. The Chiefs, on the other hand, have given up 148 rushing yards per game in their 2 playoff games.
It's a testament to the Eagles' defensive depth and coaching.
Yeah,
They lost a key player in Dean, but they haven't missed a beat.
for sure.
They're a well-oiled machine, and they're playing with a lot of confidence.
So, advantage Eagles at inside linebacker. They've been dominant against the run in the playoffs, and Bound's emergence has been a huge bonus. All right, Let's move on to the cornerbacks. The Chiefs have Trent McDuffie, who's quickly becoming one of the top cornerbacks in the league.
Oh, yeah. McDuffie's a shutdown corner in the making. Yeah. He's got great size, speed, and instincts. He's not afraid to go up against the best receivers in the league.
Yeah, he's got that swagger that you love to see in a cornerback. But the Eagles have a formidable trio of their own. Darius Slay, James Bradbury, and Avonte Maddox.
It's one of the best cornerback groups in the league, no question. Slay is a veteran Pro Bowler. Bradbury is a lockdown corner. And Maddox is a versatile playmaker who can play both inside and outside.
They're a nightmare for opposing quarterbacks. They're always in tight coverage, they're physical, and they make plays on the ball. And they allowed only 5 combined touchdowns all season when they were the nearest defender in coverage.
Wow.
That's unheard of.
It's a testament to their talent and their scheme.
Yeah.
They're incredibly well coached, and they play with a lot of discipline. It's tough to find any weaknesses in that secondary.
I'm starting to see why the Eagles are considered the favorites in the Super Bowl. Their defense is just stacked. Okay, advantage Eagles at cornerback. Let's wrap up the defensive side of the ball with the safeties.
The Eagles' safeties, C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Marcus Epps, were instrumental in what was arguably the best pass defense in the entire NFL this year.
They were both incredibly stingy, each holding opposing quarterbacks to a passer rating under 78.
Yeah, on the Chiefs side, Justin Reed and Brian Cook were both above that mark, with Reed allowing a passer rating of 103.9.
So another win for the Eagles in the secondary. Their safeties get the edge. They're just so solid at every level of the defense.
Yeah.
Which brings us to the last position group before we look at the overall roster comparison specialists.
Yeah, the kicking game is surprisingly interesting here. Butker, for the Chiefs, has been the more consistent kicker this season, hitting 84% of his field goals compared to Elliott's 77.8%.
And we all know how crucial a reliable kicker can be in a close Super Bowl game. Every point matters.
Absolutely. And the Chiefs also have a slight edge in the return game, averaging more yards per return on both punts and kickoffs.
So we're giving the edge at specialists to the Chiefs.
Okay.
It's a close one, but Butker's consistency could prove to be a valuable asset.
Agreed. Now let's step back and look at the big picture. We've gone position by position, and it's clear that the Eagles have a slight edge on paper, especially with their incredibly strong defense.
Yeah, they've been absolutely dominant on that side of the ball all season, stifling opponents' running games, shutting down passing lanes, creating turnovers. It's impressive.
It is, and this is crucial to remember, we're talking about a Super Bowl matchup.
Right.
The pressure cooker is on.
Yeah.
And in these situations, a few key factors can completely change the game.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are those game-changing factors you're talking about?
Well, first we have Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
We can talk stats all day long. But this guy is a magician. He can make something out of nothing, extend plays, escape pressure, and deliver those jaw-dropping throws that leave you speechless.
It's true. He's got that it's factor, that intangible quality that makes him a constant threat no matter the odds. Remember that crazy sidearm pass he threw in the AFC Championship game last year?
Oh, yeah.
It's like the laws of physics don't apply to him.
Exactly, and that's what makes him so dangerous. You can't game plan for the unpredictable.
Right.
He can turn a broken play into a highlight reel touchdown. And the second factor that could tilt the scales in the Chiefs' favor, the Eagles' offensive line.
Right.
As we discussed earlier, Dickerson and Juergens are dealing with injuries.
Yeah.
If they're not 100%, that could create some vulnerabilities that the Chiefs' defensive coordinator, Steve Spagnuolo, could exploit.
Spagnuolo is a mastermind when it comes to dialing up pressure. He's like a chess grandmaster, always thinking a few moves ahead.
Yeah.
If he sees a weakness in the Eagles' protection, he's going to send the house.
And that could be a recipe for disaster for the Eagles.
Right.
I mean, Mahomes under duress is one thing.
Right.
But a hobbled offensive line against a relentless pass rush,
Yeah.
that's a whole different ballgame.
So what's the final verdict? Who do you think has the overall edge going into Super Bowl LIX?
On paper, the Eagles have the edge, no question.
Yeah.
But factoring in Mahomes' exceptional talent and the potential for the Eagles' O-line to be less than 100%, I'm giving the overall edge to the Chiefs.
Wow. Bold prediction, but I can see the logic. This is going to be an absolute nail-biter. Both teams are incredibly talented, well-coached, and hungry for that Lombardi trophy. I can't wait to see how it all unfolds.
It's a classic matchup,
Yeah.
An unstoppable force versus an immovable object.
Yeah.
Will the Eagles' defensive dominance be enough to contain the Chiefs' explosive offense? Or will Mahomes' magic prove to be too much to handle?
That's the question that will keep us on the edge of our seats until the final whistle blows. It's a true clash of titans, and predicting the outcome is anyone's guess. But that's what makes the Super Bowl so exciting.
Right.
The unpredictability, the drama, the chance to witness history in the making.
Let's not forget the coaching battle between Andy Reid and Nick Sirianni.
Oh, yeah.
These are two of the brightest minds in the game, and their strategic chess match could very well determine the outcome.
Reid, of course, has the experience edge, having won multiple Super Bowls.
Yeah.
But Sirianni has proven himself to be an innovative play caller and a master motivator. He's instilled a real sense of belief in this Eagles team.
It's going to be fascinating to see how their coaching philosophies clash on the biggest stage. Reid's known for his offensive ingenuity,
Right.
while Sirianni's built his reputation on defensive dominance.
Okay, so we've broken down the rosters, analyzed the key matchups, and weighed the intangible factors. We've got potential for offensive fireworks from the Chiefs, a defensive wall in the form of the Eagles, and two brilliant coaches going head-to-head.
It's the perfect recipe for an unforgettable Super Bowl.
Then that's what we're all hoping for, a game that will be talked about for years to come. But before we let you go, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to ponder as we inch closer to kickoff. Can Mahomes' magic overcome a potentially shaky Eagles offensive line, or will the Eagles' defensive strength be enough to contain the Chiefs' explosive offense?
It's a question that has analysts and fans alike on the edge of their seats.
Yeah.
It's a true clash of tight ends.
Yeah.
And predicting the outcome is like trying to catch lightning in a bottle.
So as you're watching the game, keep this question in mind. Pay attention to those key matchups. Watch how Mahomes handles the pressure and see if the Eagles' defense can maintain their dominance. And most importantly, enjoy the spectacle Super Bowl. LIX promises to be a game for the ages. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Super Bowl. We'll be back next week with another deep dive into a topic that's sure to fascinate and inform. Until then, stay curious, keep learning, and may the best team win.